Hello, everyone. Today we're going to describe how to reverse a string. And the reason I want to do this is because in reference to our last video, if you haven't watched the last video about palindrome numbers, I do suggest watching it. There, what we did was we used the left pointer, right pointer in order to make kind of comparisons between the two. You could use the same strategy to reverse a string. So I wanted to show how that was possible. So if you haven't done so, please watch that. And let's go ahead and look at the two methods to reverse a string. So the first method that I want to mention is doing it with a copy, Copy. And the second time, what we're going to do it is in place. So we're going to use that same string in order to convert it. So in order to work with strings, we want to make sure to include string library. And let's go ahead and set up our string. Let's use the example ABC as our string. So we know that the reverse of that is going to be CBA. The first one's relatively straightforward, and that's that what we can do with the string is we can always iterate through it, right? We can use a for loop and go through each of the characters within the string. Or what we can also do is not just iterate through it forward, but really in any order. But in this case, we can also do it backwards. So say, for example, if I wanted to set up my right pointer at the very end and I wanted to decrement all the way until I got to the first index, that would work. So here, let's say, for example, I have my right pointer or my index. I'm going to set that equal to my size -1. -1, there we go. It bothers me without the kind of space on there. There we go. So here I'm set up right at index 2. I'm going to continue while it's still a valid index. So what's the last valid index? 0. So I want to make sure to continue while my right pointer is greater than or equal to 0. So because that's going to be valid. So we want to include that 0. And then what we want to make sure to do is we want to decrement our right pointer. Don't ever want to increment it. Once again, we can go out of bounds if we do, just because if I start going to positions past to the right of this C, there is memory that exists there, but it's undefined to go and start accessing that, reading it, and kind of doing operations with it. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to print out each of the characters within my word. Since my for loop is set up so that it's going to read from right index, the furthest right index to the beginning, it's going to print out backwards. So here we can have it, we can see that it's CBA. Now, why did we do this? We did this to show that if I read it in backwards, what I could do is, let's say I have the string ABC. I could make a copy, let's say a reverse copy. And what we're going to do is we're going to start it off empty. And we're going to read it backwards. And then we're going to put it in forwards to this string. So then I'm going to read the B, put the B in here, read the A, and then put the A in here. And just like that. So instead of just kind of spitting this out, what we're going to do is we're going to store it in a second string called reversed. Maybe, yeah, reversed. That sounds fine. I realized instead of example, I probably should have called this like original, something like that, just to make it a little bit more simpler, but that's fine. So what we're going to do is to reverse, we want to add each of those characters. So we want to add each of those characters being read from the right all the way to the beginning. So if we put that in reversed, and then after the for loop is done, it'll go through the entire string backwards. It'll store it into reverse each of those characters, kind of building it up like a chain, and then we can print that out. Right, so it's fairly simple implementation. There we have it, CBA. The next one's a little bit more interesting, and it's the logic that's from our last problem. And that's when we do it in place. The way we do this is, let's say we have ABC, right? Whenever it's odd or even, this kind of same process will work. So you have like a left pointer and you also have a right pointer. Once again, these are not actual pointers. These are just kind of indices. Pointers mean something else in C++ or in just other programming languages. So when here we're referring to the first element and the last element. What we're going to do is we're going to do a swap between the two. So a swap, in order to do that, we just need a temp variable, and we go ahead and make that swap. Right, so we get a temporary char, store the second letter. Then once we store the second letter, so temp is equal to C right here. Then what we could do is we can overwrite the second letter with the first letter. So here we put an A, and then we could overwrite the first letter with the temp, which is going to be C. And just like that, the swap is performed, and we reverse the string in place. So we actually reverse the original. So notice I don't need this anymore. and also want to reset up this loop. So what we want is our left and right pointers. So our left and right indices. So let's go ahead and set that up. So for int left idx is equal to 0, right idx is going to be the size of example -1. There we go. We want to continue this. We want to continue this while we're less than the size divided by 2. And I strongly encourage kind of showing how this is true. We only want to perform swaps for these conditions. Strongly encourage kind of tracing a value out with, let's say, for example, if I wanted to switch, let's say 4 values. So like, let's say A, B, C, D. In this case, how many swaps do I want to perform? Or how many swaps do I want to perform exactly? It's going to be 2. So it's going to be the first and the last, and then the second with the second to last. Right? If this were 5, it would still only be 2 swaps. So let me just show that. A, B, C, D, E. There we go. So notice I only still want to perform 2 swaps. So A and E and B and D. The C is symmetric. It's right in the middle, so I don't need to perform the swap. This boundary condition will hold true for even and odds. So strongly recommend kind of practicing or just kind of visualizing that if to feel comfortable. And this is because of integer division. Right, if I have 4 divided by 2, it's going to be 2. If I have 5 divided by 2, it's still 2 because it's integer division. So once again, if you divide 5 divided by 2, whole number divided by whole number is 2. And I hope it's not too kind of basic. I just want to make sure everyone feels kind of comfortable with the logic. Anyways, now what we're going to do is we're going to increment our left index. We're going to go ahead and decrement our right index. And we want to be able to perform a swap. So in order to perform swap, what we're going to do is we're going to set up our temp with the second value. The second value is going to be, or the second, for a second I forgot that this was C++. We're going to have a char temp. And what we're going to do is we're going to get the right value. I like grabbing the right value first. So here's our right index. There we go. And then what we're going to do is now we can overwrite the element at that location, at the right index, with the left index. Example at left index. And then what we're going to do is we're going to overwrite the left index with the temp value. So this is a swap. We're going to go ahead and perform this while these circumstances are valid. So at the end of it, we should now get the example string to print out in reverse order. So we can go ahead and print that out. Let's see, where did I make a quick mistake? Let's see. So it's letting me know I missed some kind of brace. Let's see, left IDX, right IDX. Oh, here it is. Sorry. No, that should still be a comma. Here, that looks fine. Right IDX. Oh, did I just not put the condition? Yeah, I just didn't put the condition. I think it's because I kind of veered off and then kind of forgot to go back to that. So let me put the condition in there. So when do we want to continue this? While my left index is less than the size minus size divided by 2. So this is going to be less than the size divided by 2. So sorry about that, because I kind of went onto this kind of example or this logic for the swap, I think, and then kind of forgot to return back to the condition to set that up. So this is the correct the correct boundaries now. Okay, perfect. So now let's go ahead and run that. There we go. We get it printed out in reverse order. So these are the 2 methods. Once again, just how to perform a copy or how to use a copy in order to reverse a string, and then to do it in place so that you don't have to create a second string. Now, if you do want to keep the original string, then go ahead and use a copy. But like, let's say if you wanted to be, if you don't mind and you want to be a little bit more efficient with the memory, it's not a big deal. But this is just kind of more so for the practice. You can do it in place. And this is going to be used in a few different problems. So I hope you did enjoy this lesson. Please let me know if you have any questions. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope you have a wonderful day.